introduce is Mr. Kenneth Skinner, and I've known Mr. Skinner for a number of years. He's one of our former students. He even taught as an adjunct for us. He's been the chief engineer for CBRE, JLL, and now he works for Special Properties, the Brownfield Reuse Project, consisting of about 12 million square feet of mixed-use space. So, 2 million? Oh, 2 million, I'm sorry. So, Kenneth, you want to come up and just add a little more of what you do?
All right. Just a little bit about myself. As Gerald said, I was a prior student, also adjunct instructor. During those times, I was working for Train, as you know, one of the manufacturer reps. I've got a mechanical background and / controls background. So I was in that field for probably 6-7 years and ventured over and working with private equity, real estate development. So that's kind of where I made my transition. And currently, 2 years ago, I went to work for Jamestown, which if anybody knows anything here in Atlanta, Mayor Cassim Reed, the sustainability project has been huge, and we work very closely with Mayor Cassim Reed and their sustainability office. One of the things that we've done is taken this brown site and redeveloped it, which was in a blighted area on the east side of Atlanta. This particular project on the Beltline has really started to transform East Atlanta in the old 4th Ward district, which Mayor Haynes, if she's still here, she probably knows quite a bit about that district. So we have a great partnership with the community as well to see the development, the transformation that goes on in these communities. And I can tell you from the last 5 years, it's been amazing. So the particular project that I'm on that you see here is Ponce City Market. It's comprised of about 2 million square feet mixed use. It used to be the old Sears and Roebuck Southeastern Distribution Center. This structure was built back in 1929. It was built in different phases from 29 to 42, as recently as 66. And in 2000, we purchased this property from the city of Atlanta to remake it. It has been challenging, to say the least, but we're almost at the tail end of finishing our statistical commissioning, which is something that we have found a lot of different things in. I personally believe if you do a project, make sure you go point to point. But I can tell you it's been very challenging and has really expanded a lot of different disciplines where we have merged all new mechanical systems in this building. We have MSTP trunks, line trunks. If there was a challenge, we ran into it here. From wireless elevator controls, line network, you name it. So a little bit about it. You see the structure here, the Ponce City Market sign. One of the unique things, this rooftop area has been activated. We have an actual slide on that roof out of the back of that sign. You may be able to see somewhat of it. There's carnival games, a Hiji ride, putt-putt golf, a restaurant. So it's something unique that's totally different from anything in the city of Atlanta. And we work very closely with a lot of organizations, the Hawks Foundation, Clinton Initiative. So as you see, it's totally transformed. It's something old we've taken, brought it back to life, and that's one of the reasons why I went to this project. I personally, that's what I like to do is see things old, take them, bring them back, and have a reuse. So it's been a great experience, and to be part of it is an awesome thing. Just a little bit about this project, control-wise. It's Niagara AX platform. We're currently converting it over to Niagara 4, which everybody controls. You probably know that that's the next progression for Niagara to support OS without HX graphics. Get here. And if you look, all of the lighting in this particular facility is Hubble LX platform, and then we take that and we convert it to lawn and pull that into our front end system. And it's a huge structure that spans over 16 acres. Can we get to the next slide? Right.
Oh, yeah, you should be able to click. Just click.
Space wherever.
Yeah.
All right, so internally on the structure, that building is split up into two plant risers, east and west. It's mainly just a condensing water system riser. We don't have any chilled water in the system. It's all DX cooling. But water source heat pumps from retail up to the third level. We have dry and wet retail. That serves into this closed loop here on the bottom. You see the plate frame heat exchanger. So all of our retail section is in this closed loop. We take that, we transfer that heat through the plate frame back to the open loop. And then on our office floors, we have self-contained units that also feed into that open loop, and we reject that heat through the piping system. Water side economizing function based on enthalpy control. Real unique system. One of the things that we've been able to do is, if you know, in the closed loop, we can take that heat during the winter time. We're cooling that water down in the loop in the mild season. We can actually transfer that back through the cooling towers. So we don't have to run our cooling towers. We can go into an economizer mode a lot longer versus air side, because we're using that cool water that is being used as heat in the wintertime in those mild days back through our loop. So we're able to keep that loop temperature down very significant. A lot longer than you would see in the air side economizing setup. Any questions? What you see here, how we're doing it? It's pretty simple in terms of condensing water. What you see here spans about 10 different feet. The cooling towers on the roof, and all the pumps are in the basement. Pretty simple to me, but you guys may have some questions. Yes, sir.
It looks like you have a plate and frame heat exchanger
Yes, sir.
between the condensing water and the closed loop.
Correct.
And why did you do that?
We did some energy modeling early on through the sustainability group, and that plate frame heat exchanger with our water source heat pumps, we're running heating and cooling for mechanical. So we saw a very big advantage to take that cold water in the wintertime from these water source heat pumps that are using first stage mechanical heat. They're cooling that water down. We're running it back through that plate frame heat exchanger in the wintertime, and in the mild seasons where we can economize for our open loop to our SCUs, which have water side economizer coils. That's one of the main reasons.
What type of VRF system are you using?
We actually have a Niagara front end with waypoint altitude controls, also train lawn controls. There's different lawn-based platforms that are lighting control. We've got lawn and backnet control networks in this building.
I mean specifically on the mechanical side. I'm just wondering on the VRF brand.
VRF brand.
Or what do you use on the DX side? What do you use?
DX, we actually have train equipment. We also have some climate master equipment with retailers. They have a lot of different national specs that we have to adhere to. So on the retail side, we have a whole plethora of different manufacturers.
Ken, this group is interested in, especially the West Center and high performance building operations, so specifically in relationship with the sustainability group in Atlanta. Can you touch on some other things you're doing from an energy perspective, a sustainability perspective?
Correct. I'm actually a member of BOMA. I sat on the BOMA steering committee for BOMA HP, which is their high performance designation for buildings. And one of the things that that sustainability effort, everyone knows, LEED certification is huge now. This particular project is LEED certified. And the biggest requirement of that is pulling analytics out of your system, which you have cost savings. What are you doing energy-wise to show, to prove what you're telling these commissioning agents? So one of the things you see here that's kind of unique to our property, on our condensing water, we have city makeup water that we offset with spring water and also our SCU condensate. All the condensate water that we have for our SCUs come back to these two small white 500-gallon holding tanks. We take that water, we treat it, and in the bottom here, you see a large retention vault. That's actually a spring-fed vault that we take water from the spring, along with groundwater that comes in from a nearby parking deck. Well, that water normally would go into storm sewer. We're diverting that water into a vault, and that water leaches out back into the ground, and we pick it up in this retention vault. So with the condensate water, spring water, we take that, we pull it back in, we treat it, we pump it up to our 11th floor, which you see here on the top side of the screen. That's actually a 46,000 gallon tank. That water then in turn gets used to our cooling tower basins. So right now, since last year and a half, we've seen about 30% reduction in water usage from city water versus our condensate and spring backup. So, and that's right in line with the EPA 30% reduction water credit for stuff. So it's a very unique system. And I can tell you, filtering is the key part. Filtering in your chemical systems, you have to have an excellent chemical and filtration system to make that work. All right. Any questions on what you see here? Or fire away.
How big is the vault?
Excuse me?
How big is the vault gallon-wise?
The vault's roughly about 2,500 gallons. And that's, that vault stays full constantly.
But the one on the 11th floor, you said it was 46,000?
46,000 gallons. And it's pretty unique. That tank that sits up on the 11th floor was originally a tank that was used for sprinkler water from the old gravity-fed sprinkler system in Sears was there. So we took that tank and repurposed it and found a use for it in sustainability. Yes, sir.
So, just a question, on that water, how are you finding yourself treating it? Is it more acidic or basic, or what's going on with that? What are you guys scrubbing out of the air here in Atlanta? That's what I'm really asking.
Well, I'm going to tell you from the spring, what we have here, you don't see this. From that spring, there's a lot of turbidity, as you can imagine, a lot of sediment. We're using actual bag filters up to 150 microns to pull a lot of that fine sediment out before we even introduce it into the system. Because you've got turbines, you've got all these different devices, that dirt can react with metallurgy or different chemicals. So we pull out any sediment that we have first, and then inside the 500-gallon tanks, we have chlorination statements and water treatment areas there. And also, once that water gets up to the tank, we also have a water treatment station there as well. And it's very important to keep that water turned over. And we look at about a two-thirds chlorination rate on the tank level all the time. That's what we try to control. Yes, sir.
Do you do any testing of the groundwater that comes off the parking lot for hydrocarbons?
We did. We had a huge environmental study through law engineering. I can tell you that the water was tested. Really, it's not something you're going to pick up and drink, but there are certain things that, through filtration and carbon, that you can pull that out. Some of that stuff that, is a brownfield site, there's strict regulations on that. We have a vapor mitigation system on the property that you don't see here as well, which uses large charcoal canisters that we pull a lot of those vapors out of the ground, put it in charcoal, and that charcoal is sent off and exposed it.
Do you have a continuous, ongoing monitoring of that, aside from that carbon filtering, but the spring water itself?
We do. We actually have.
Comes from the parking lot that gets into the spring, doesn't get back into your system.
Right. We continually monitor that once a month. We have a company called Environment that comes through and they monitor everything with the water, from radon to hydrocarbons to it's about a 2-page list of chemicals I can't even pronounce. But it is heavily monitored. All right. So that's Ponce City Market in a nutshell. It's a great place. If you haven't been down, if you're here in Atlanta, I urge you to go down. Know how long you guys are in town. starting tonight, they have a Sean Mullins concert on the roof. Also, they're having some concerts there Thursday and Friday. And actually, Bill Clinton is going to be on site Sunday for the Clinton Initiative as well, but you guys don't know that. We've been dealing with the CIA for the last 3 days, so scoping the building. But that is Ponce City Market. Can I answer any questions or discussions?
You got one in the back.
Yeah, somebody mentioned VRV. So you're not using VRV, so variable refrigerant flow.
No, we are not using variable refrigerant flow.
It's-
All of our SCUs are constant volume pumps. They're actually scroll compressors. We don't have any type of variable refrigerant flow systems in this application.
Just curious of why you're not using variable refrigerant flow.
For us, with the initial energy model, there's a cost and a payback to that. With the self-contained units, it's something that we originally looked at, but it was value engineered out from a dollar standpoint to achieve the same level of efficiency that we need. Yes, sir.
You just using trained water source heat pumps?
Trained water source heat pumps. We have Carrier. Once again, I said, the retailers, they have strict contracts where they bring in their own equipment, and we give them a design criteria, and they put their equipment on that condensing water line. Yes, sir.
Ken, thank you for being here. And I may have missed this in the beginning, but I'm curious to know, on a 2 million square foot building, it has probably a utility cost, electricity and potentially natural gas or whatever your fuel used. You have potentially like a $5 million annual cost for electricity and, let's say, natural gas. Is there somebody that's managing the building and pays attention to that, and how do they get paid? And is there a full-time, building operator, and what are some of their roles? I mean, like I said, you got a $5 or $6 million utility budget. That's a significant chunk of money, and if a person can save 10% of that by making sure that the building is operating properly, that's a $500,000 plus for a building owner.
Right. That's one of the reasons they have me. I'm actually sitting later this year to become the CEM. But one of the things Jamestown has is an internal sustainability group that we report all our metrics from a monthly standpoint for retail consumption, water, gas, and our sustainability officer in the group, they're all CEMs. So internally, it is highly scrutinized for our baselines, normalized for weather. I get those anomalies every day. Hey, what was this? What was that? And a lot of times I speak to that.
Are you ongoing with your energy model and keep feeding back in other potential renovations to analyze what might be the next thing you guys want to do?
Correct. We got some senior guys in here. I guess you guys know about Smart Grid. One of the things that we're doing right now is taking our systems to be able to convert to real-time pricing, which is all based upon your tariff rate. We're on PLO right now. So we're looking to have Georgia Power be able to send that signal for, that demand response event. I don't think Georgia Power's gotten there yet, but the long-term view as power and aggregate, we would be able to take that real-time demand response and shed X number of kW back from our property, and then that aggregator would, then take that as a commodity and it's resold. So it's one of the things that we're looking at from a revenue standpoint. So it's not only cost savings, it's revenue as well. And in the real estate industry, we're all about revenue. So, how can we generate revenue? Yes, sir.
Could you talk just briefly about kind of the big picture in terms of high-performance buildings, where industry is going? Is there a greater commitment to moving in that direction that you're seeing? And where's that push coming from?
I've got my own personal views on some of that. I think as an industry, the smart grid appliances, all the ability that we have today to send signals and have smart appliances, I think that's where it's going to start, is in that appliance concept. Commercial is one of the biggest consumers of electricity, and through LEED and a lot of the smart buildings, that's grown exponentially through the different LEED certifications, the Green Building Council, the GBC, and it's something now that, a lot of people are coming up on that 5-year recommission. Hey, we're LEED, we've touted it. Well, what are you going to do in 5 years? So that 5-year is starting to come up, and there's a lot of people that are going to go through that. And I personally believe there's a lot of companies that aren't prepared for it. They use a lot of outside companies to do that work for them, and it's only going to be a huge area for companies to take advantage of that checks and balance. I definitely see electricity here in the state of Georgia. We're looking at going to some, actually, I think it was last year, Georgia Power, we've got a large nuclear facility. A lot of the coal plants are phasing out and going to natural gas. Natural gas is probably at its lowest point for cost, so it's very beneficial to take that low cost gas to create electricity. And Georgia Power is doing it now. So.
Yes, sir. There's a lot of big hurdles with permitting, and I was talking to some people in Hawaii, and they said, well, that's a great idea, but you'll never get it through the building inspection and all that.
Once again, we have a great relationship with the mayor's office.
Oh,
But it's really a community effort, and there's always been challenges, there's always been hurdles. So there is a combined effort there with the community to see things through. The biggest thing, you just want to make sure it's safe, and life safety is always number one. What are you doing with your water systems? Everybody's got backflow preventers and separating their water systems. That's the part that we look at, that we manage. We have third-party agencies that do a lot of that for us. We have a design, and we have Jamestown. We actually bring in a third party to do a lot of our oversight for Q&A purposes. And as the industry goes, the mayor's office, they understand, we went that extra mile to make sure it's safe. So you get that inspector that's there. He may not be the latest and greatest on code, but you have to listen to him, and if he points something out, you take that and you try to make sure it's a decent. Right. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.